Digimon, an ever-changing and evolving series, every new season bringing in a new set of characters and a new set of partners, apart from when they give a new character an Agumon or when they reboot the series completely. And as Digimon Adventure 2020 begins to come to a close, it's got me thinking about what if they'd have shaped things up a little bit more than they did. And on today's video, I'm going to be looking at what would happen if we swapped the Digimon partners of the original 8 Digidestined. What's up everybody, thank you for watching another video and thank you for liking and subscribing, it does mean a lot. But before we begin, I've got something pretty interesting to talk to you about. This video is once again sponsored by the wonderful people at Buyee. You know Buyee, they're the proxy service which lets you get everything you need from Japan. Yahoo Japan shopping and auctions, Kari, Rakuten, Amazon JP and more. Buyee have been so supportive of this channel and you guys have been so amazing. Every time we've been sponsored, clicking that link and absolutely smashing the support of Buyee. Loving to see all the bargains and things you guys have been getting with Buyee, and that's why me and Buyee have teamed out to do a big celebration to thank you. If you like Digimon and you want to be a Digidestined in your own regard, you're going to want to check this out, because Buyee and I are teaming up to give away the Digimon Adventure Digivice version complete. I told you you'd get a kickback from the sponsorships. Now, as always, if you use my link in the description below, you get 2,000 yen off your first purchase with Buyee, but also in the description is a link to the Gleam giveaway. The way this works is super simple. You get up to 6 entries per person into this competition to win the Digivice version complete. You can do as many or as few of these as you want, but every one you do is another entry into this competition in that Gleam link down below. All you've got to do to get all 6 entries is enter your registered Buyee email address, subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me and Buyee on Twitter, tweet about it on Twitter, check out Buyee on Instagram, and every day this competition runs, you can check that link to get another free entry. This competition is running from June 14th to June 19th. 2021. If you're watching after this date, you missed out, I'm sorry. So click that link in the description, get entering to win a Digivice version complete. Competition is open worldwide to anyone, so get entering. And thank you so much to Buyee for sponsoring this video, it does mean the world. Good luck to everyone entering, and let's carry on with the video. So yeah, swapping the Protagonist Digimon. I've thought long and hard about whose I'd swap, and initially I was going to swap Tai with Matt, Sora with Mimi, Izzy with Joe, and then TK with Kari, but I realized I was only really swapping Sora and Mimi because they were the other girls of the series, and I guess they kind of combined crests for Yoli, but I never liked that, so I've gone a bit different. I'm going to be swapping the Digimon of Matt and Tai, TK and Kari, Joe and Mimi, and Izzy and Sora, and I think you'll be able to see why as we go through the list. Now what I'm doing for this list as well is I am keeping their crests in place, so while Joe has a Palmon, he still has the crest of reliability, while Tai will have a Gabumon, he will still have the crest of courage, and that will inform the Digivolution paths going forward. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit tricky, and these are by no means perfect, but overall this is kind of my idea, but if you have other ideas, let me know what you would do for the swaps and their Digivolution lines in the comments down below. Alright, so let's begin with Joe and Palmon. This one was difficult for me. I didn't want to lean into bugs because I felt that was too much like the crest of knowledge, and I wanted to feed off both Joe's kind of nature as the anxiety-riddled older kid, with still the elements of grass from Palmon, but with more of that reliability vibe. And I ended up going with the line being Palmon to Sunflowermon to Blossomon to Ceresmon. I did this for a number of reasons. First of all, that through line hasn't been shown before. I didn't want to do anything that was too much of a repeat, so I didn't want to repeat Mimi's line, and I didn't want to repeat Yoshino's line from Digimon Savers. And I feel like this is a good medium between the two. There aren't a ton of flower or grass Digimon that fit with reliability, so this would be more of a personality-based thing. But I think it is unique enough and does kind of match up with Joe. Ceresmon in particular, I think, has that big, gigantic vibe that Vikemon shows off, with a lot of the feminine and flower energy that comes from Palmon. There is no big aquatic Digimon that fits the mega for this stage, so I've just kind of put the aquatic elements of the Digi-Egg of reliability away because it's not necessarily the only thing going for it. In fact, a lot of the aquatic elements probably come from Gomamon more so than the crest of reliability. It's probably my least favorite line on this list, but I had to do something to make the other ones really work. And speaking of Palmon, next up is Mimi, who gets Tentomon. This was a tough one. I didn't want to use Kawagamon or anything kind of evil or anything like that, and I wanted something that would match sincerity and purity. I also have a big bias for the Fanbemon line, but I just didn't think Waspmon fit at all. So I looked at a couple of things. First of all, I looked at Tentomon with Izzy. Tentomon to Kabuterimon to Atla Kabuterimon / Mega Kabuterimon to Hercules Kabuterimon. And that informed the kind of bigger style that I was going for. And then I looked at what Palmon became. So Palmon to Togemon down to Lilymon and Rosemon. Lilymon is much smaller and Rosemon is maybe a little bit taller. So I like the idea of something becoming very big and powerful and then streamlining down. And so I settled on something a little bit jerry-rigged. For the Tentomon partnered with Mimi, I am going Tentomon to Honeybemon. Now, Honeybemon usually has the Crest of Knowledge on its head. This version just wouldn't, okay? If you have a problem with that, take it up with, I guess, me. But it would very much be the Crest of Purity or Crest of Sincerity Honeybemon. And I think that's a nice juxtaposition to Kabuterimon. Kabuterimon being this more kind of monstrous, huge bug. I like the idea of Tentomon just getting slightly bigger for champion and getting some of this bee vibe, which is gonna settle in when it then digivolves to Cannonbemon. Yes, I found a way to get his evolution into this video, but I think it really would work. It's a big mech bee, okay? And while you might think, oh, well, how does that represent purity and sincerity? It's a good question. But no, I think it folds in a lot of that kind of purity, kind of uniting friends and the hive, if you will. Obviously, Mimi likes to be a princess or a queen. You could say she's the queen bee. Thank you very much. And so I think there's a lot of combination there between like bees pollinating flowers, the queen bee vibes of Mimi, and just something unexpected for Mimi to have this huge, big, strong ultimate Digimon, which then of course would digivolve into Tiger Vespamon. And this does that whole Togemon to Lilymon thing I'm looking at, but one stage ahead. Tiger Vespamon pairing down, becoming more humanoid, and again keeping up the queen bee vibe. Purity does get slightly lost here, but to be honest, how pure is Togemon, you know? Sometimes it's not all about the crest and more about the personality of the Digidestined, certainly in Adventure. And so while I am sure someone in the comments is like, you idiot, this doesn't match at all, I think there is something to be said for a Tentomon to Honeybemon to Cannonbemon to Tiger Vespamon line for Mimi, only because I think the Queen Bee pun is pretty funny. Alright, next up is Izzy, who gets Biyomon, and this one was tough initially. I don't know how well Izzy and Biyomon would pair as in Sora's Biyomon, but I think maybe a male-sounding Biyomon. Obviously there's the argument about whether Digimon have gender, according to Tamers they don't, but I think a male Biyomon would fit Izzy quite well. Maybe with some more of the neuroses that the original Adventure Tentomon had, but folded into the Biyomon package. Or maybe it's just very similar to the original Adventure Biyomon and kind of picks Izzy up when he's feeling down on himself and not confident in his knowledge. The other reason I did this is because Biyomon could digivolve into Owlmon, which keen-eyed people will spot is another armor Digimon on this list. Shh, I'm not using them as armors, okay? Just shh. And Owlmon normally digivolves from Wormmon with the Digiegg of Love, but I honestly think that it looks so good as a bird-based evolution using the Crest of Knowledge. It would be a champion, not an armor form, so again, much like Honeybemon, I'd probably take the crest off its head or maybe change it to the Crest of Knowledge or something like that. But I just think Owlmon's vibe fits so well. Owlmon would then digivolve into Valkyrymon, a Digimon that I think deserves way more love. I wish we'd have seen in Digimon Adventure 02, and I think fits quite well for this line. While Valkyrymon is usually a mega level, it has been used as an ultimate Digimon, and if we're doing fan fiction anyway, we can always, change its level or whatever, in the same way that a lot of armor Digimon also act as champions. And we do actually have examples of Valkyrymon digivolving from Owlmon inside media, so that's why I've chosen Valkyrie for an ultimate rather than a mega. I hope that makes sense. It builds on the kind of armored vibe of Owlmon, but rather than being technology knowledge, this then becomes something more like mythological knowledge, the knowledge of your history and of mythology. And I can just see Valkyrymon flying ahead of Izzy, they look like they'd be good companions. Valkyrymon has a companion called Freya, which according to the reference book informs it when danger is near, and I think this works very well with the whole knowledge thing. Scouting ahead, planning in advance, all folds in nicely to Valkyrymon. And then, unfortunately, there's not a lot of good bird megas that haven't been used already. We could go into Hoomon or Zhuchaomon, but I have chosen Valdemon. Valdemon. I don't have a ton of good reasons for Valdemon other than it hasn't been used so much, and I think it would be an interesting different mega for Biomon, but there is something about Purge Shine and the Light of Knowledge that you could maybe throw in there, although it is definitely tenuous. If you have a better suggestion for this mega, I am totally willing to hear it. Let me know in the comments down below. Editing Karn from the future here. I forgot to mention this because I discarded it during the planning phase and then forgot to talk about it in the actual video. I did consider Chronomon Holy Mode as a mega for this Biomon of Knowledge, and I think the design works really well, but I just don't know if it fits, and using Armor Digimon is one thing, using this mode change is another, but I do really like Chronomon Holy Mode as a design. If this was a video where I came up with completely original Digivolutions that have never existed before, it would be something more similar to Chronomon Holy Mode, but I think Valdemon works better as more of a sort of established but underused mega. Valdemon or Chronomon Holy Mode, I think both work. And then we have Sora with Gomamon, and this one was surprisingly easy for me. I wanted to fold in some of the vibes of the Crest of Love with some bird-like elements if I could, and it kind of went there almost, because I am choosing Gomamon to digivolve into Orcamon, and I think this works really well. Again, Orcamon is also an Armor Digivolution, but I think it works well for a Digivolution from Gomamon, and you can feel some of the kind of Digi-Egg of Love / Sora influences there. It's also kind of cute, right? Which I think makes it very different from Ikakumon. It's much more slender and kind of in keeping with, I think, what Sora's Digimon would digivolve into. So while, yeah, typically it doesn't have any direct connections with the Digi-Egg of Love, I think it just works here. It shows its love by saving people in the ocean. It's definitely tenuous, but I think you can build upon that lore to create that connection. And then a real surprise would be that Orcamon would digivolve to Mermaidmon, and this is kind of a Togemon to Lilymon thing, something very bestial becoming something very feminine, and that's where the influence, I think, of Sora would really come in. The aquatic vibes of Gomamon combining with this strong feeling of love and the feminine energy of Sora, resulting in Mermaidmon. I think giving Mermaidmon the chance to shine as a protagonist partner Digimon would work really well, and I think it would work really well for Sora. And then for the mega, it does get a little bit sticky. I personally have chosen Ancient Mermaidmon in a similar vibe to how you would get, you know, Kabuterimon becoming Mega Kabuterimon and then Hercules Kabuterimon. I'm keeping the naming convention for the mega. It is an ancient Digimon, which is a little bit difficult, but it doesn't have to matter in this canon. In this new canon, you can just say it's just called Ancient Mermaidmon because it's ancient. It doesn't have to have all the other baggage of the lore from Frontier, and I think it's the one that works the best. You could go to Neptunemon if you wanted, but I feel like it going from girl to dude would kind of not work for the design convention I'm going of Sora introducing an element of femininity into this Digimon. So yeah, I go for Ancient Mermaidmon, and again, it just builds on everything we already have with Mermaidmon as an ultimate, but going through into this mega, and I think something that again would look really good alongside Sora. Alright, and then we have TK and Kari, and this one I think was the hardest to do something unique with. There are only so many holy Digimon, and so I did go a little bit off script here. First of all, Kari. I don't know what I do with the plot of this season, whether Kari would get Patamon or get its adult form, or whether TK would be the one to get the adult form like Gatomon. Regardless, I've done a bit of a compromise and something new with these evolution lines that hopefully is a little bit different. By the by, if I had my choice and was completely rewriting Adventure, I'd give them Lopmon and Terriermon, but I can't do that because I have to swap in this video, so we're going from there. So, Kari. Let's say Kari gets Patamon. Obviously you could do like Angemon and all that sort of stuff, but I wanted to go a little bit unique with this. So, for Patamon, I have decided that he will digivolve with Kari's Crest of Light into Darkmon, as in dark, it's not dark. She is an angel Digimon, but she's very different to Angemon and Angewomon, and I think, again, Patamon with a female tamer becoming this female Digimon works a lot. And from there, I've gone off script a little bit. So, unfortunately, Kari is really where I came unstuck. Originally in this video, I had lovely Angemon as its ultimate, but thanks to supporter Harley, I have now realized that that is the Japanese ultimate / mega confusion happening to me once again. Ultimate meaning a different thing in two different countries when you're on a really tight deadline can sometimes mean that we mess things up, but it's okay, we can fix it, and I'm gonna have Darkmon digivolve into Angewomon and then digivolve into lovely Angemon. I wish that there was something better for Ultimate, but the amount of angelic Ultimate is just so low in Digimon. I'd be tempted to use Sylphimon, but I don't know if it really looks like it works between Darkmon and lovely Angemon, but I digress. Then we have TK, and again, we'll just assume he gets Salamon, but he could also get Gatomon. This kind of works regardless. For me, it would be Salamon to Gladymon, or Gatomon if you prefer, to Knightmon. Now, the reason I chose Knightmon is because it has the Crest of Hope on it already, and it's not an Armored Digivolution. My original hope was to have TK's Gatomon become Maildramon, but that line just doesn't really work. Even Salamon to Maildramon, there's no way to continue it. At least with Knightmon, I think we have something interesting. And it is in the wheelhouse of the kind of armor of Maildramon, which is a potential Gatomon form. I think also alongside Lovely Andromon, it would work really well, especially if it was Salamon to Gladymon. Gladymon next to Darkmon I think would also work. And then from Knightmon, I have chosen Lord Knightmon or Crusadermon, and this is probably the one that I'm least attached to. Obviously its name is Lord Knightmon, at least in Japan, and also some dubs, so it digivolving from Knightmon makes a ton of sense. It also again folds in some of the femininity of Kari, but I don't necessarily want that if this is TK's Digivolution. You could easily make Knightmon become a bunch of other Digimon. Seraphimon or Dynasmon are the ones that come to mind, but finding that level of originality and also keeping the Crest of Hope and TK there is really difficult. I personally chose Lord Knightmon in the end, but I'm really not attached to it. In fact, maybe just Seraphimon. Maybe we just have Seraphimon and we deal with it. And then finally we have Mat and Tai. And as long as I've got my Mat and Tai. This was initially pretty difficult. I took the longest to get to Tai. In fact, it was only when I posted in my Discord like, hey, I'm trying to think of an idea for who Tai could have as a Gabumon partner. And then as I was typing, the idea came to me. But let's start with Mat. This one just makes a ton of sense to me. Mat, of course, would get Tai's Agumon. It would become his Agumon. With the influence of the Crest of Friendship, Agumon would become Vidramon. It just makes sense. Agumon has digivolved into Vidramon before, the blue of the Crest of Friendship coming together with Agumon, the dinosaur slash dragon, into Vidramon, and from there, very simple. Vidramon to Aero Vidramon to All Force Vidramon. I don't think I need to explain this further. I mean, Taichi and Vitamer literally has this evolution line, bar Agumon, so it all comes together, I think, with the Crest of Friendship into something perfect. Plus, Davis has a Vmon, which can also digivolve into Vidramon, not in Adventure 02, but in like extended canon, and Davis has the Digiega Friendship and Courage, so I just can't think of a better Digimon than Vidramon for Mat's Agumon. And then we have Tai's Gabumon, and this one's really tough. Combining the Crest of Courage with Gabumon was a big difficult thing for me. I didn't want it to just become a regular dinosaur because that was boring. I didn't want Gabumon to just lose the pelt just because he's got the Crest of Courage. It would be very easy to make him into like a Greymon or like maybe like something like Cyclomon or something, but I wanted to keep the fur and the dragon elements that are introduced and the fire of the Crest of Courage, and then it hit me. My Tai's Gabumon would go from Gabumon to Dorugamon to Dorugreymon to Dorugoramon. It's the Doramon line. And I think it makes a lot of sense because if you look at Dorugamon, well, obviously it's an evolution of Doraemon, it also kind of looks like you made a dragon Gabumon. You get some of the fur and stuff. I can definitely believably see Gabumon digivolving into Dorugamon. And then of course Dorugreymon or Dorugureymon, it's not necessarily a Greymon variant, but we're gonna say it is this time, becomes red and more draconic, but still has the fur. I just think it works really well. And then of course Dorugoramon becomes armored and on 2 feet, and that becomes very much like the mega vibe that you get from things like War Greymon. I think it comes together really well. There's just one problem. Dorugoramon and All Force Vidramon have never DNA digivolved. Dorugoramon can become Death X Dorugoramon or Huanglangmon, at least in things we've seen, and All Force Vidramon has become Omnimon, so yeah, you could just make them become Omnimon, I guess, with a All Force arm and a Dorugoramon arm, or, while we're going crazy and swapping things around, why not let them become Alphamon? Tai's Gabumon and Mat's Agumon, once they hit Mega, DNA Digivolve or Jogress or Fuse or whatever you want to call it, into Alphamon this time. A good Alphamon. Is it possible? Probably. I don't know if that works, and again, some people are probably going to tell me that that's a terrible idea in the comments down below, but I really wanted there to be a fusion between these two, and I think Alphamon is really the only compromise I can find that still makes these make sense. But anyway, that's the video. Just a little bit of fun this week. Not so much heavily fact-based, just me kind of fanficking and coming up with cool ideas. Once again, let me know in the comments down below what you would choose for swapping these partners. You don't have to choose the swaps I swapped. If you do think Mimi and Sora is a better swap, do it. Also, let me know if you want to see this type of video again. I normally stick to like top 10s and more factual based things, but some people have said they want to see my ideas on video. So if you like this, let me know in the comments down below, and do like the video. That's like the best metric I have for should I do this again. And yes, thank you to Bye for sponsoring this video, and do check out that competition in the link down below. The Gleam link, you can get like 6 entries plus an additional entry every day to win the Digivice version complete. I don't even have that. I've only got the 2020 Digivice. Good luck, everybody. Thank you so much for watching another video, and let's thank some channel members. My amazing DigiDestined level channel members: Triple D, Knight 12, Andrew Sobel, Sad Uncle Callum, Crimson Dragon Slayer, and Anthony Bontomasi. Thank you so much for the continued support of DigiDestined. It's literally amazing. And my Tamer level channel members: The Blessed Rain, Mew Will, Sam Mallow, NQG420, Nagel, Emily, John Hawkins, Mike McNulty, Theo Navarro, and Reese Williams. Thank you so much, Tamers. And to everyone in the Karn Club for supporting the channel and getting those early access videos, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.